Hello and welcome to a preview of our next multiplayer game. This time it's going to be a Collision Wars game. Now, for those who are not familiar, we've been playing ranked multiplayer games for past 2 or 3 months, and most of those games were quite successful. Now, our ranking system is quite decent at the moment. It could use some improvements. I'm working on it. It should be done in next 2 or 3 weeks. It's quite difficult to balance all the countries since Victoria is quite an unbalanced game. Now, as for the current game, the goal was to make the game more interesting and to people to work together. So you get a ranking determined by your whole coalition ranking and then divided by number of players in the coalition. So, for example, if you have France, Austria and Russia in one coalition, the total ranking of one of you would be sum of the points and then divided by 3 in the end. Now, we have 4 coalitions so far, with 16 players signed, plus 4 or 5 players, I think, who have no coalition yet, but would like to play. And let's waste no time. So the first coalition, we have a Northern Organization for Advancement of Greatness, or with a tag NoFag, including UK being played by Butters, and Canada being played by Kezel, Mexico played by Gurn, and Brazil played by a newcomer, Triscais. Or I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Should be quite close, I hope. Now, this coalition is very strong and probably one of the best potential coalitions, as Canada and Mexico allied can beat up USA pretty badly in the early game, and if they get a lot of immigrants in the late game, they become very powerful, almost as powerful as well, I don't know, I wouldn't go as far as powerful as France, for example, but certainly powerful as Austria. Now, the problem with this coalition is that Canada has only 1 regiment in the beginning, and Mexico is, well, Mexico is quite decent. They can actually fight USA. The idea of this coalition is pretty obvious. They'll go and beat up USA, getting most of immigrants in the game, controlling 2 continents, well, North America and South America. Brazil is also extremely strong here, so we'll see how that works out. The only problem is that UK's land in India and Asia won't be as protected. We'll see how that works out for them. Now, the other coalition is the Intent, allied by France, who is played again by a new player, Bjorn. Russia played by Spotgun, and Romania. We'll see how we'll sort out Romania. It's played by German Doctor. Now, idea is to release them as a satellite of Ottoman Empire. We'll have to find a way to deal with that. So, because if they're a satellite country, then they can't attack anyone. Now, this coalition is extremely powerful and probably one of the most powerful coalitions in the game, especially in the early game, because they have sick amount of troops. Now, France military power is not realistic here. So it says only 25, but realistically it's as strong as Russia. So this coalition will have pretty much control of the Europe. I'm not sure how is Prussia going to stay alive here. We still don't have a Prussian player. Oh, by the way, I should probably enable something that should make it easier. Okay, there we go. You should be able to see coalitions and players. Well, actually not players, but countries down here. And now France is extremely powerful in every aspect of the game. They have pretty good attack. They do start with a bonus to culture, so they should reach 100% literacy very, very soon, in some 20 or 30 years, maybe a bit more. Now they are very strong in colonization. They have a decent military power. They don't really have any particular enemies in the Europe except Russia, which won't be able to fight any great wars against France and Russia unless they get an external ally, for example UK. And now the alliances between different coalitions are allowed, but you are not allowed to attack the player from your own coalition. That's the only rule. There are no other rules regarding coalitions and alliances. Now Russia is of course extremely powerful, and the good thing about this coalition is they basically have presence in well, on every continent. So Russia is extremely powerful in Asia and Europe. France can be very strong in colonization, so they have a presence in Africa. They're very strong in Europe, and they can also have some influence in the Americas. Now, of course, considering the resources, they have Romania, which is a valuable country when it comes to oil. And most of the other resources they already have, so they should have a monopoly on some of the resources and trade goods. That's for the Entente. The next coalition is the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, or shortened GEECS, led by Japan, followed by Japan is played by Stylish, Australia Too Awesome, Prussia, I think Prussia is played by Fusilier, yeah, and Spain by a new guy, Molecular. Now the problem with this coalition is that Spain will be isolated, and Spain needs to find an ally in Europe, which might be hard because France and Russia, I don't think they need any allies in Europe. Prussia, if they ally Prussia, then they would have to defend them against France, and that is not the best option. Now there is another coalition in Europe. We'll see if they will manage to pull something out there. For the most of the game they should be playing, well, staying out of the wars, because unless Japan becomes extremely strong, they won't be able to survive in Europe for much longer. Now the final alliance, actually I forgot to mention, this coalition is very, very strong in Asia. They basically will be able to control most of the Southeast Asia, and well, Japan is only allowed to take Manchuria, Formosa, and Tibet. Also I think Xinjiang. Those are the weaker countries of China, but still that's enough. Combined with Korea, Japan will be very powerful here, because they have no enemy basically in Asia, unless there is a Netherlands player, and of course they can sometimes get involved in a war with the UK, but that's not a necessary thing. Now Persia also might have some problems if they ever get in a war with Russia, which is actually quite likely, since Russia would like to have Manchuria as their core, and Japan also might want Manchuria. Also they'll have a battle for Sakhalin region, which they have both cores on. So that will be quite interesting. Persia, Japan can westernize quite quickly, so they shouldn't be really regarded as uncivilized nations, because they're quite powerful once westernized, especially Japan, who is considered as a superpower here. And now getting into the last coalition, GDI, Global Defense Initiative. That's our coalition. And we have Sweden, played by Marconi, Ottoman Empire, played by Christian, Austria, played by Mencinio. I will probably be two Sicilies, although that's not 100% for now. And Portugal, played by also a new guy, Ephialtes? Ah, god damn it, I forgot. I don't have nicks written here, so should have wrote them. Let me check actually. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so our coalition has definitely the potential to be the strongest one. The problem is we are quite weak in the early game, especially Ottoman Empire and Portugal. Austria can stand off against, for example, Russia or France alone, but combined they don't really have a chance. So perhaps we might be looking, if there is a problem between Romania and Ottoman Empire, we might be looking to ally Prussia, because then we would have the same interest as fending off against France and Russia. But we'll see. Sweden is also extremely powerful and one of the most underrated countries. They can form Scandinavia in first 3 or 5 years of the game. They have the best tech in the game, and also can be very strong colonial power if they form Scandinavia early on. Ottoman Empire has some problems with money, administration, also their military power is quite weak. So Ottomans are one of the weakest players in the early game. However, they should have easier game than Austria. Austria has some inner problems. They do have a decent sized army. They also have some spearlings such as Bavaria, who does have again decent army. And they're probably looking to preserve the peace in Europe until they manage to form Austria-Hungary. Which again might be an issue, because I'm not so sure if Germany will ever form. Well, at least until very late game. Because Russia will be torn apart by France and Russia probably. And then the only way of forming Germany would be through rebellion, which is likely in the late game, but will take some time. Now, I'm probably going to play two Sicilies. The first goal is of course to form Italy, and once I form Italy I'm going to focus on colonization. Now, the better country for forming Italy is Sardinia. However, Sardinia has some issues in the current game. First, they start sphered in a French sphere, which actually doesn't show here. I don't know why. I probably loaded the wrong save anyway. So, two Sicilies are actually stronger when it comes to military power. And also have better access to Africa through Tunis, or a close one, and can easily get that one quickly. Also, we have a Portugal in our alliance. Now, Portugal has presence in every continent. That's a good thing. However, they are really small and quite weak. And they revolve on quick techs, which they don't really have, so they'll definitely have to stay out of the wars in the early game and hope to snipe off some decent possessions through other coalitions wars. So we'll see how this works out. Now, if you want to join, we do need some more experienced players. We also encourage new players to learn and join our community. We try to make some balanced coalitions so that every coalition has one stronger player that would lead a coalition. and teach new players. So we also, I think, the only coalition, well, no, actually every coalition has a newcomer, so that's quite balanced, I think. Hopefully it will be a very interesting game. If you want to join, I will leave the link of the forum in description so you can see that. And thanks for watching and enjoy the game.